I'm just going to give a brief overview, and then we're actually going to launch right in. The panelists were kind enough to forego their opening statement, so we could make this as interactive and as possible. We're actually we're over 200 years since Adam Smith coined the phrase enlightened self-interest. And what we're going to talk about in many ways is enlightened self-interest. Through this lens of enlightened self-interest, the panel is going to explore the new paradigm for corporate engagement in philanthropy, or corporate social responsibility. In this new paradigm, companies are leveraging their core competencies for social responsibility. It's not something that's extra or over there, as has been the case in the past in many philanthropic efforts, something that's almost dispensable to the core of the company, but rather this new paradigm integrates its philanthropic, social responsibility, and in our case, international development work as integral to who they are and what they do as a company. Another frame for enlightened self-interest is a business phrase, return on investment. And particularly that might be relevant today with the financial difficulties and challenges that many companies are under and pressures. We're going to have a wide-ranging interactive discussion, but we're going to focus on this return on investment in three significant ways, and we're going to weave the themes throughout. One is maximizing the effectiveness of philanthropic efforts by utilizing core competencies. Somewhat externally, how you maximize your return on investment. And a good way to think about it is if you put an accountant in a soup kitchen, it's a good thing for a couple of hours. You do good, you feed a couple people. If you put an accountant in the back room and clean up the books and manage the finances of the organization that's providing the soup, chances are pretty good that you'll have an even greater and more maximal effect. So it's how you maximize that investment in your philanthropic work. The second is maximizing your investments internally. How you enhance your recruitment, retention, energize employees, potential clients, and your general view in the world. And the third is maximizing your long-term economic and business opportunities. How engaging in the developing world or in social responsibility actually gives you new opportunities for business for 10 to 15 years. So those are going to be the three themes that we try to concentrate on. And to begin, I'm actually going to ask Richard if he could give us the landscape, given your background and experience. Frame the big picture for us. What are the opportunities today, and what are the risks to companies if they retrench or don't engage in this way going forward with the financial situation? Basically, what is it in the enlightened self-interest of companies to be involved here?
Let me start out by telling you that we every year do a study in 20 countries called the Edelman Trust Barometer. We release the findings at Davos. And there were 3 or 4 important ones that will frame the conversation. First is, probably not unexpected, trust in business collapsed in the past year, which had been going straight up for the past 7. Business trust in the United States fell, for example, from 58% to 38%, lower than 2003, which is post-Enron. And so at the level now equivalent to Germany and France trust in business, which is the lowest in the 20 countries we survey. So, in fact, the US is the new Europe, or the old Europe, or however you want to talk about it, Don Rumsfeld's old phrase. Second point, that trust in business, though low, is still higher than that in government. So we used to think that trust was a zero-sum game, right? So if one went up, one went down. Not the case. In fact, trust in every institution went down the last year. And I think there's criticism of government for not having watched the hen house, right? What were you guys doing when business was, making problems for us? So in 13 of the 20 countries, business is still higher rated than government, which is both low. Third point, non-governmental organizations consistently in every one of the 20 countries rank as the highest institution in trust. So if you want an understanding of why civil society matters, that statistic matters hugely. And if you look at specific brands, whether it's Greenpeace or Amnesty, Malaria No More, those have real credence and real power in the discussion, okay? Those institutions lend authority both to government as well as to business. 2 other macro trends, just briefly. One is, I do think that we've seen an evolution from a shareholder society to a stakeholder society. There's no question that there's now basic acceptance of a broader set of objectives beyond just profit making. In other words, what's societal outcome? What's community good? This sense that business must perform these other tasks is really important. The second point I want to add is I really feel it's important you understand that no one believes something the first time he or she sees it. Ray and I were babbling before the event about Twitter, and that Austin Kutcher actually now has 1 million followers on his tweets, which is quite remarkable. It is part of the dispersion of authority. Understand that a person needs to see something 5 times now, hear, see, or read it 5 times in different places from different people to believe it. What that means now, folks, is in my world, you used to think about, you hear it from Walter Cronkite, and that's the way it is at the end of the evening news, forget about it. That's one very small piece of global governance now. So you have to be in multiple places, lots of different kinds of ways of communicating. And understand this, CEOs now are ranked as just about the lowest spokesperson in trust. 17% of Americans trust CEOs to be credible. That is 1/2 of an ordinary employee and 1/4 of an expert. So again, if you think about the vox populi and the importance of telling your message not only to your Wall Street analysts, but to your employees, and then get experts on side, I think it sets a context for the discussion.